Howdy Neighbors, David here. And today on Boondock Stallions, we're going to be taking another look at my original Matrix video theory. Now, before we get started, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I know the camera setup and the headphones are a little bit weird. My gout's acting up and I can't really set up the camera and the audio equipment, so we're doing this on my phone. Should be fine, no problems. But here we go. So, my original Matrix video. Now, you don't have to go and watch it. You can if you want to. I'll leave a card right there should you want to go and check it out. But I'll sum it up for you pretty well. My original thought was that Neo never, in fact, actually left the Matrix. Now, the evidence for this that was already there was the Spoon Boy. Spoon Boy let us know that rule number one, there is no spoon. And when you get to see The Matrix 2, you find that Spoon Boy sent Neo a message, and that message was a spoon. Now, at first glance, you could just assume that Spoon Boy was sending him this as a thank you for freeing him from the Matrix, or you could assume that the Spoon Boy was sending him a message saying that we've all been lied and duped to, and this is just another level of control. There is no spoon. Evidence number one. Evidence number two comes in the form of both Agent Smith and Neo taking abilities from their own worlds and crossing them into the other ones. Now, Agent Smith is able to copy and replicate himself onto people who are plugged into the Matrix, and he does this to to Bane, and uses Bane as an avatar to come into the real world. Once he's copied himself onto that body, he unjacks from the Matrix and is able to carry on in the real world. And you could write it off and just assume that because those born in the Matrix are grown and have already got the hardware jacked into their head, that the software could in fact just stay there after not being jacked into the Matrix and be running his own little show that way. So, I mean, that's one bit of evidence. But then later on in the movie, Neo himself uses his abilities to stop the Sentinels from destroying them, and that's something he should not be able to do at all, period. Not even a little. Because he's in the real physical world. Unless he's not actually in the real physical world. What if the Matrix let them take the red pill to believe that they were leaving, but in fact they were sending them into a completely different simulation, one where life and the outlook was very bleak and dire, and their circumstances were grave AF. And so your mind would accept this immediately because it's been unplugged from the, quote, real world and plugged into the other, quote, real world, which is just another simulation and a level of control that the Matrix would have in place already to keep all of its prisoners. So, my thoughts, my own original take on this was actually not meant to be controversial or political at all. My intent was I just watched the movie, came up with a theory based on my observations and ran with it. And I'm not pushing any agenda. I'm not pushing politics. This is just me thinking. So having said that, Neo shouldn't look like Thomas Anderson. Do y'all get what I'm saying here? Neo shouldn't look like Thomas Anderson. And what I mean by that is, let's use the character Switch as my example. Switch from the original movie was a female who was freed by Morpheus. And originally, when she was freed, she was going to be unplugged and realized that she was actually a he the entire time. Now, this was cut out of the original movie for whatever reasons, but it still does play a very crucial part in the movie, because based on that observation, it's like they were saying that transgender people in the Matrix were subconsciously aware that the Matrix was telling them lies. Their Matrix/society was telling them, you know, you're a girl, you're a female, this is who you are, you've got all of the biology to accommodate you, and then they unplugged her, and turns out he was right the entire time that he was a male. That's actually how the character got the name Switch, but like I said, for whatever reasons, they decided to leave this out of the original movie. You can form your own opinions on as to why, but I firmly believe that the Matrix was just already overloaded with so many layers and layers and layers of intricacies that adding one more would have dogpiled it, and the audiences might have just lost it completely and not even watched the movie, giving us a trilogy and the Animatrix and the games and this new movie, which I'm super duper hardcore looking forward to. But looking at that aspect of how Switch was supposed to originally be portrayed on screen, that led me to believe that Neo shouldn't look like Thomas Anderson. It's like Morpheus said, that is your digital self-projection. That is the way the Matrix tells you you look, and your mind has already accepted it. So when they unplugged him from the Matrix and put them into his learning program, his mind had already accepted what he looked like. So that is the digital self-projection that Neo gave us, was Thomas Anderson. But wrap your mind around this. Because they don't have relatives or families and are grown, not born, they don't actually inherit traits from parents or anybody else. The Matrix just designates what they're supposed to look like so that they believe the simulation is actually real. Neo should have woken up to look brown or black or a female or a redhead or a blonde or with freckles. There could have been a whole innumerable assortment of ways that he should have looked, but because he already had a digital self-projection implanted in his head from the Matrix, he came out looking like Mr. Anderson. That's not how that should have gone. He should look like somebody else. And that's just a theory. But if you think about it that way, that explains what's going on in Matrix 4. Because there's this scene right here in Matrix 4 where Neo is looking into the mirror. And there's a lot of scenes in the trailer where Neo is looking into a mirror. But this one in particular, the mirror changes the image back at him and he sees somebody else in there. That is the way the rest of the world most likely perceives Thomas Anderson in this version of the Matrix. The way we see Keanu, what we're seeing is Neo as we knew him and the way he sees himself in his mind, but other people around him most likely perceive him as the old man in the mirror being Thomas Anderson. Or it could even be vice versa. That could be what the real Thomas Anderson looks like in the mirror. The point is that Neo is trying to look through the mirror past the fake images that he's seeing, and the blue pills are basically reinforcing the old, this is what you look like, this is Thomas Anderson, this is your life, and this is how you will live it. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments section. And as for Morpheus, I'm sorry, I mean, he's not Morpheus, but the actor that is playing a character that looks a lot like Morpheus, the glasses, the mannerisms, the clothes, everything. And I know that everybody's thinking it's a younger Morpheus and maybe they're in a different simulation or they've done some kind of time traveling or blah, 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 because everybody just feels that time travel in Endgame is the best way to solve problems. But what if that's Morpheus and Niobe's son? Now, there's no evidence that they actually had a kid. It's not written anywhere. But if you look at it logically from the movies, why did those two break up? It's clear that they have very strong feelings of love for each other and that they want to be together, but they're not. It could be because they had a kid but decided that Morpheus fighting for the cause and Niobe fighting for the cause was too great or greater than their own child and their own future. So to make sure that they could be the best parents for that child, they left him to be raised in Sion, and they themselves continued to fight against the machines, which is why they couldn't be there to raise him, which is why he wasn't there in the original trilogy. And that's my theory. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.